So Barack Obama landed in Cuba, the communist regime that the human rights group Reporters Without Borders calls the worst regime in the Western Hemisphere when it comes to human rights. This is an enormous coup for the Castros, who have run Cuba as their personal prison island for more than half a century. Now, it could bring economic salvation to Cuba, a country that was actually rich before the Communist Revolution, but that is now so poor that the only cars people can afford to drive are 1950s era cars left over from before the revolution. Power shortages, food shortages, very few luxury goods, of course. It's a commonplace to be living this way. If it weren't for Canadian and European tourists bringing hard currency, the country would have collapsed years ago. So Barack Obama will save the communist regime, not just economically, but by giving it his moral approval. And what have the Castros done in return? Allowed for freedom of the press, for political freedom, have the Castros legalized opposition political parties? No, none of that. The opposite, actually. Literally hours before Air Force One landed, Cuba's secret police swept through Havana, arresting democracy activists, including in violent raids. Other political dissidents were simply ordered not to meet with Barack Obama or any other visiting Americans. Let me say that again. That was what the Castros did literally the day Obama came to visit, because they knew that Obama doesn't really care about civil rights in places like Cuba or Iran or China. He just doesn't. Obama landed in Havana, the first U.S. president to do so in nearly 90 years, and Raul Castro couldn't even bother to meet him at the airport. When Iran's former president, Mahmoud Ahmadinejad, flew to Havana, Castro was so excited to meet him, he came to visit the plane, but not for the mere president of the United States. Obama posed for a picture in the Plaza del Revolucion. Look at that. Look at how Soviet it looks, a barren, Stalinist wasteland, a horrid apartment block that looks bombed out in the background, an ugly portrait of a murderer named Che Guevara. And Barack Obama standing with more pride and loyalty and patriotism there than he normally can muster when he's on American soil and the Star-Spangled Banner plays. There are some reasons to engage with Cuba, even on a unilateral basis. I could make those arguments. More American tourists means more people speaking about freedom one-on-one. More investment could mean more free enterprise. Some of it could catch on. Now, most of all, that money would be skimmed by the Castros. It would actually strengthen the government, but perhaps after a while, it might topple the government. Perhaps once the Castros are dead. I could make that argument, but not to get anything in return for Obama's visit, not even a symbolic first step towards freedom, nothing. In fact, all the symbolism of the day is in the other direction, arresting dissidents, snubbing Obama at the airport, making Obama pose in front of Che Guevara. Huge PR wins for Cuba. I don't see the win for America, though, or for freedom. It's tough to disagree with Donald Trump, who tweeted, "Wow, President Obama just landed in Cuba, a big deal, and Raul Castro wasn't even there to greet him. He greeted Pope and others, no respect." Yeah, it's almost like Trump wrote a book about negotiating. But what has Obama negotiated globally with any country in his 7 years? What concessions has he received from North Korea, from China? How has he corralled Russia, which has annexed eastern Ukraine and dominates Syria? Or Iran? Obama gave them moral acceptance too, and a legal path to nuclear weapons, and $150 billion as a signing bonus. Other than Iran and Cuba, can you name me a single country that is closer to the United States, more supportive of it now than when Obama took over from George W. Bush? And what has America achieved in any country, even Cuba and Iran? Cubans are not more free today than they were yesterday. Iran is no less a threat today than it was yesterday. But Obama couldn't be more pleased with himself. He's the first post-American president. He doesn't believe America is special or should be greater than any other nation. Here he is reading a book called The Post-American World. He believes in a post-American world. Most Americans don't, because that world, well, it looks too much like Cuba and Iran. For the Rebel.media, I'm Ezra Levant. Thanks for watching. Click here to never miss a Rebel update. Want even more of the Rebel? Well, click here to become a premium member.